the old-timers are on the ground. Before the race, Jackie Stewart asked many of today's favorites what they were doing on the day of the very first Southern 500.
I was running around in the pits just watching everybody go. I was 12 years old at that particular time. I was about 9 years old, Jackie, and I was back in the mountains of North Carolina picking corn, I guess.
My mother was probably changing my diapers about the first time this race was running.
Now, that's a hard question, Jackie. That's too long back. Of course, in 1950. In fact, I haven't even started racing then. I don't really know.
Well, I was in the infield down. I had a babysitter at that time, down in the far end down there. My dad was racing in the race.
I wasn't even around in 1950. I was born in 1955, and I didn't even know this place existed way back then.
And now the 40-car field on the track. Richard Petty with his Dodge on the pole. Buddy Baker in a Ford alongside, number 15. David Pearson in third position in the Mercury, and Cale Yarbrough, number 11, in fourth place. Then it's Bobby Allison and Darrell Waltrip in the third row. Charlie Glotzbach and Benny Parsons make up row 4. Raymond Stott and Earl Ross in row 5. All in all, 40 cars as they come down now to face the green flag of this granddaddy of all stock car races, the Southern 500. And the flag is down. They head for turn 1. The traffic is tight. It's touchy. Petty on the pole and Baker on the outside. And Petty takes the lead as Baker wobbles and falls from behind. Pearson drops into third place. In fourth place, it's Cale Yarbrough, and fifth is Bobby Allison in the Matadors. They head on to the back straightaway. Petty, the top stock car racing driver of all time, shooting for an unprecedented 5th national championship, has the early lead in the Southern 500. It's Petty. Baker's a close second. Pearson is a close third, and then it's Yarbrough and Allison. 5 different makes of cars, and now Baker makes a move on the inside to try for the lead early in the competition. And on the inside, he goes by Richard Petty. Buddy Baker has moved ahead. His father, a 3-time winner of this classic. Buddy, many times a starter, but never a winner here since 1970. He wants to make it number 2. Baker the leader now. Petty second and Pearson third. A Ford, a Dodge, and a Mercury. Jackie, they're running very close.
Very close indeed, but in fact, Buddy Baker made a very clean start to it, and it looks to me like he can draw away a little bit. Richard Petty's holding on at this stage, but here they come down again, down the front straight. You can see how low Buddy Baker's using the track there, but there, in fact, David Pearson going straight up the inside. Now, Richard Petty almost let him through. I'm surprised to see Richard making him such a lot of space to get through there.
Petty has dropped from pole to third place in the early going. Whether he's setting a pace to let somebody else burn their cars out, only time will tell. Meanwhile, Buddy Baker, who has led every super speedway race this year in that RC Ford, is now out in front once again, but yet he is yet to win this year. He is 0 for winning this year. So Buddy Baker is trying very hard to win this one, the granddaddy of all stock car races. And now Baker and Pearson are beginning to open up an interval over the challengers. It's the Ford and the Mercury. And now Petty in third place is being challenged by Yarbrough. Yarbrough, a 2-time winner here. He won it last year, would like to make it number 3. Only 2 men have won 3 times in the Southern 500. Herb Thomas and Buddy Baker's father, the ageless Buck Baker. And we have a battle of the brands in progress here with 5 different makes of cars occupying the top 5 positions. There's Bobby Allison in 5th in a Matador, and Darrell Waltrip right behind him in a Chevy.
This is really close racing. For Buddy Baker, of course, it's not very often that he's been in the front. He's led a lot of races, but he hasn't won many races this year. He hasn't won one, in fact. To have David Pearson right behind him must be very unnerving, but there's only really one way around this racetrack. If he doesn't make mistakes, he should be okay.
Well, nobody is running away with this Southern 500, but the early going shows that Buddy Baker has the important combination, horsepower and handling. And now they're starting to overlap the tail enders. And this racetrack, which is a narrow racetrack, only really one high-speed group. There's Tony Bettenhausen, number 9. He's racing for rookie honors with Richie Panch. There's a $10,000 rookie prize at stake at the end of the year, and he's after that, as is Richie Panch. Baker now laps Buddy Arrington, and he's a smooth chauffeur, a really big man, Jackie. Well over 6 feet tall and well over 200 pounds. Is this a handicap?
Well, in this kind of racing, it would seem a man of Buddy Baker's size doesn't seem to be handicapped because of the car's weight. The cars are very big, and of course, Buddy seems to fit in. And there's a spin, right coming out of turn through, an enormous spin. What an accident, right down the racetrack. And he's going back across it. What an accident. Almost T-boned there. There's some fire, and the cars have been wrecked.
That's Roy Main hitting Jerry Hansen, a rookie from South Carolina. Looks Main bails out of his car. He's obviously okay, but Hansen is in the car, and he got a solid hit there. We certainly hope that he's okay. The yellow flag waves, slowing the field and the pace down. This is an early caution flag in this 25th anniversary Southern 500. So we all wonder now about rookie Jerry Hansen. This is not the sports car driver by the same name, but rather a youngster from the South here in his first Southern 500. Roy Main recently retired after 20 years in the Army. He's been a professional stock car driver for a number of seasons, and he's okay. And the cars now head for the pits to take on gas and whatever other services they might need. It's an early pit stop, and it's going to throw the planning a little bit out of whack. Leonard Wood talks with David Pearson. And the wrecker moves over on the back straightaway to hook onto the wrecked car of Roy Main to get it off the racetrack. Jerry Hansen goes to the ambulance, but the radio report from the scene is that he is not seriously injured. And we'll be back for more of the Southern 500 in 1 minute. And there's Hansen's wrecked car, Jackie.
Look at above that 73. Look at those bars, the enormous bars that have totally protected this driver from serious injury. As a racing driver, we're always grateful for this sort of thing. And NASCAR is the safest form of racing that I know. Fantastic.
Well, the pretty nurse at the field hospital says of Jerry Hansen's condition, he got his bell rung. And now, Darrell Waltrip, who was sixth with the yellow wave, stayed on the track, made no pit stop, and is now the leader as the pace resumes. Behind him is NASCAR champion Benny Parsons. Bobby Allison is third, and Cale Yarbrough is fourth. And here's the second, third, and fourth place drivers locked in a three-way duel as they hit the main straightaway. Benny Parsons, and now being tried by Bobby Allison in the Matador, and Allison takes him on the inside as Cale tries to find racing room underneath and can't. Yarbrough, who lives 10 miles from here, is an elected county official. He's in Florence County and a county commissioner. We have a politician race driver now. He puts Parsons in traffic and moves by to take third place as Waltrip continues to set the pace. Heavy traffic on the raceway now. Cars all over here, and there number 67, Buddy Arrington, moving in front of Bobby Allison for the moment as Cale follows through. Parsons still in fourth position as Waltrip sets the pace. Racing speed better than 140 miles an hour on this narrow blacktop Lady in Black, the Darlington International Raceway, the granddaddy of all super speedways. And Waltrip, the big man in Nashville speedways every Saturday night, late model sportsman action, is out in front of this. Oh, and Richard Petty, one of the top drivers, is into the rail. Apparently he was squeezed up, and his STP Dodge comes down. It looks like he cannot steer. And now the big problem on Petty's mind is, can he get to the pits, and can his crew fix the car and get him back in the competition? Richard Petty, a one-time winner in the Southern 500, the sport's biggest winner, in trouble here. Now we're going to have another look at this in slow motion. What happened, Jackie?
Well, Richard Petty was obviously squeezed up to the top of the rail. He came sliding down here. He came into the infield. He's out of control, obviously, very badly damaged. But just behind Richard Petty there, you can see Buddy Baker and Richie Panch. Richie Panch has already struck Buddy Baker from the back. This is significant as he also comes into the infield. But Richard Petty is severely damaged and looks like being very low on the racetrack.
A four-car skirmish slows the race for the second time. Richard Childress, Richard Petty, Buddy Baker, and Richie Panch involved as the yellow flag is out, and everyone takes advantage to come into the pits for fuel and whatever other services the cars might need, thus jumbling the standings in this 25th annual Southern 500. And now Baker gets out of the car, and that's bad news. And he's just seething with agony, for this is the big chance. The Southern 500 is a race everyone wants to win, and he's purely frustrated there as he takes off his hat. His father won this race 3 times, and there's Richard waving to the crowd, walking home rather than driving home, another top contender out of the race. But Baker there, now he walks out on the track. He is still just boiling mad, and he yells something at Richie Panch as he goes by. Richie, one of the rookies in the race. And it is Richie that Buddy blames for ramming him from behind, exiting him from the competition. The car is pushed behind the wall to the dead car park. So Richard Petty and Buddy Baker out of it. And now Jackie Stewart is down with Buddy Baker.
Buddy, it must have been a terrible disappointment to be in this position for your father to have won the race so many times and for you to be taken out at this time.
Well, it was, Jackie. I was much better off than I was the time I won here. And the car was just flawless. Anytime I wanted to go to the front, I could just mash down and go. And then when Richard had his little wreck up in the corner, I backed off like everybody should do when they see an accident. And 3 or 4 other cars slowed up, and here come a car wide open down in there and nailed me right in the back end. It's just one of those things that sickens you, I tell you. When you're so right, you can't compete.
Well, Buddy mentioned his father, Buck, a 3-time winner here. And while the pace car is out forming the field, let's go back to yesterday when Jackie Stewart was over in Timmonsville, South Carolina. Cale Yarbrough's home for a chat with Cale and Buck Baker, hero of a day gone. James Hilton is the new leader in car number 48, and he's being pressured by our neighbor politician, Cale Yarbrough, with Bobby Allison back there in 3rd place, and in 4th place is Darrell Waltrip. And now Cale Yarbrough tries on the inside of James Hilton. Will he make it? And yes, Hilton wobbles, and right behind him, Bobby Allison passes through to take over second place. That's heads-up driving on Allison's part. He took advantage of Hilton being high on the track to move by. There, David Pearson up front is almost a lap down, and Bobby Allison surges the Matador past Cale Yarbrough for the lead. So we've had a couple of leaders in the last 3 laps. It's Bobby Allison, Cale Yarbrough, and James Hilton, 1, 2, and 3 in the 25th running of the Southern 500, and we'll be back with more in just one moment. Well, Richard Petty looking over his damaged car. One of his favorite expressions is, you may give out, but you never give up. And his crew works on the car, and who knows, maybe he'll get back into the competition. Here's Jackie walking down for a word with him.
What was the trouble, Richard?
Me and the other boy got together, and I got the bad end of the deal.
Was there any oil down there, or was the track clean?
The track was clean when I was going around and put on the outside, and I was up really clean out of the groove up high, and he pulled over to let me go, and he didn't allow enough room.
And the crew, Never Give Up crew, Dale Inman with the welding torch, cutting away the fender. Many years ago at Nashville, Tennessee, Petty was 13 laps down in a race, stayed in there and wound up winner. So one never knows, but the car is really seriously damaged, and I would think it's doubtful that it will get back in, but the crew doesn't think so. And on the track, leader Bobby Allison about to put a lap on superstar David Pearson, who had an unscheduled pit stop earlier in the race and is now 1 lap down. Second belongs to Cale Yarbrough in number 11. Darrell Waltrip lies third in number 95, and Charlie Glotzback is fourth in car number 90. 1-2 position, very close here in traffic as Allison in the Matador leads Yarbrough in the Chevelle down the straightaway. It's a very close competition despite the yellow flags that have slowed the action. Racing speeds of over 145 miles an hour. The average now falling way down because of the slowdown periods. And here, Yarbrough is trying Allison for the lead, but traffic gets in his way as they go by. Richie Panch in number 98. Whoop! Bob Bircham in trouble against the wall. Now the 2 leaders, Bobby Allison and Cale Yarbrough, along with Panch, Tangle and Spin. And the 2 leaders in the competition are down on the apron as the yellow flag comes out once again. What a spill here. Cale Yarbrough spun. It didn't look like he touched anything. He's going to have to get going again. They'll all go to the pits. Leader Bobby Allison in second place, Cale Yarbrough. Involved in this tango, putting Darrell Waltrip in the lead under the yellow flag. And Bobby Allison did not go to the pits with the number 12 Matador. He's on the track and running, Jackie.
He's still out on the racetrack, but what an accident occurred there. Right high on turn number 3. The cars came in traffic, as you can see. They were passing Richie Panch, and a car up front hit the wall, hit the barrier there. You can see the smoke coming off him as he strikes the wall. Cale Yarbrough gets out of shape, but the car comes down, the Matador comes down and hits Richie Panch. Allison hits Richie Panch, but you can see Cale spinning down. Now Allison goes back up, hits the wall again. And of course, in the meantime, Yarbrough has not touched anything. He's just spun, which is in fact quite a feat, not to hit anything at that speed. You can see both cars spinning down the hill now. It looks as if he's going to hit into Allison, but he doesn't do it. They come to a stop without any contact for Cale Yarbrough, but the other 2 cars, in fact, have been quite badly hit.
And it's like a mail train coming into the pits, and Allison now heads for the pits. Roger Penske, alerted by radio, is down there to supervise whatever repairs it might need. The left front corner bodywork is separated from the door where the blue meets the white paint. Gas as usual. The pace is slowed here at this 25th Southern 500. Cale Yarbrough getting right side tires, which were obviously flat spotted when he jumped on the brakes and spun that car to avoid further entanglement in the wreck. He's going back out. And this is good for Cale Yarbrough, but Bobby Allison, a 2-time winner of the Southern 500, is going to have a car that, if it can run, is going to be aerodynamically upset. And coming in the pits, Richie Panch having a dizzy day at Darlington, being in 2 skirmishes. With this yellow flag delay, let's go to an event seen earlier on Wide World of Sport. Here's Keith Jackson. Lucy Kanamaki and Jackie Stewart back at Darlington, South Carolina for the Silver Anniversary Southern 500. Buddy Baker, Richard Petty, and now Bobby Allison, contenders all out of this competition as Benny Parsons, the defending NASCAR champion, leads Darrell Waltrip, Dave Sisko, Jim Vandiver, and Charlie Glotzback in the competition. The speed has been cut by 4 yellow flags. And now Darrell Waltrip is putting the pressure on Benny Parsons. It's a 1-2 battle here. The race has been slow but close all the way along. 2 Chevrolet drivers, Parsons and Waltrip. Waltrip, a young Tennessee driver, trying hard to get by. He can't find racing room. Parsons riding a bit high on this racetrack. And now Waltrip tries down low, Jackie.
This is one of the characteristics of the Darlington racetrack. It's an extremely narrow racetrack. There's really only one groove round this, Chris, and you've got to be on it. There's no room for two cars side by side in turn 1 or in turn 3. The track narrows in turn 4, and it really is a big drama to pass.
Well, the chief mechanic has to make those chassis handle, and with the chassis handles here, that's more important than horsepower on this. Oh, there's trouble! And it's number 7, Benny Parsons into the wall, and David Pearson, and Richie Panch involved. Oh, and another leader, another top contender hits the wall, and another yellow flag waves here at the cantankerous old Darlington Raceway. Will it ever end? And look at David Pearson in his Purelator Mercury, coasting down off the banking. Another contender biting the dust on this famous old racetrack. Pearson, 5 times winner of the Spring Rebel race and 5 times second in the Southern 500, never a winner, and he's not going to win this one. His crew looking down the track the wrong way. He does not use a radio. And there's Benny Parsons. He's out of his car and he's okay. And David Pearson parked in the middle of the track with mechanical woes.
When the accident happened, Benny Parsons came in. He had an engine blow, and of course immediately the car turned right into the wall. Now Richie Panch once again in the accident gets all the brakes on, tries to stop. David Pearson comes up the racetrack with his wheels locked and runs right into Richie Panch. He heads down the racetrack now as if he's going to stay clear, but turns immediately right up towards the main concrete wall of the racetrack and hits it very, very hard indeed.
And 2 top contenders out of the race. David Pearson and NASCAR champion Benny Parsons. Is Richie Panch. Goes around to the pits, gets out of his car as his crew now works on the car to try and get it back in. Notice the left rear tire is being removed where the bodywork has grooved it deeply. Richie, the youngest man in the race at 18, now with Jackie Stewart.
Richie, you've been a busy boy so far. There's been 3 accidents that you've been involved in. What really happened?
Well, it seems that every time there was an accident, the leaders just pass me or somebody spins in front of me. And I don't know, it's just not our day, it seems, for accidents, because there's nowhere to go out there. Everybody gets the track locked. They're going to try and get the car back in. I don't know if they can or not, but they're going to work on it.
What happened with the Buddy Baker accident?
That's when Petty spun down there, and Buddy and I both saw it. I tried to stop, and he tried to stop, and he stopped quicker than I did. And I almost missed him, and I got him, and the two of us, I didn't hit him that hard, but I guess hard enough to get him out of shape, but I couldn't stop it, I was doing all I could. It was just one of those things.
Okay, now the second accident, what happened there?
That's when Bob Burchin blew an engine down there. And I was low, and that's when Allison just passed me. And I was trying to get woed under Bobby, and he came down, and when he came down, he hit me. And we both hit each other, and that's what happened in the second one.
No, the third accident, they're going into turn 1.
Okay, I was following Benny, and David Pearson was behind me, and Benny blew an engine going in down there, and I started stopping, and Pearson, but there's just so much oil, I couldn't go low because I was already in the oil before I had a chance to turn it, so I just locked the brakes up. And when I did, Pearson hit me, and I hit Benny, and Benny was, I could see the whole underside of Benny's car. It looked real bad, and it's just...
Well, is it the end of a busy day for Richie Panch now?
I hope not. They're going to try and get it back in so we can finish, but there's a lot to be done.
Now that's poise for a boy out of high school only one summer. And it's Heartbreak Alley for David Pearson, 5 times runner-up in the Southern 500, but never a winner as he heads home. Truly one of the last of the good old boys. And we'll be back with more of the Southern 500 in a moment. There's 6 yellow flags and 5 top contenders out of the competition. Unheralded Dave Sisko in 05 holds the lead, but not for long as Charlie Glatzbach in car number 90, the Ford, takes over. It's Glatzbach and Sisko 1 and 2, and a close third is Cale Yarbrough in car number 11. Cale trying to make it number 3 here at Darlington International Raceway, gaining ground now on Sisko, who may be right in there behind Glatzbach. Sisko's in his 3rd year on the circuit. And look at Cale close on Sisko now, trying for second. He moved right up there. Dave apparently let down once Glatzbach got by. And Cale Yarbrough from nearby Timmonsville moves the number 11 car, the Chevrolet, past Sisko into the 2nd place behind Glatzbach. Today's race is under sanction of NASCAR, the world's largest auto race body. And some of their specials coming up is tomorrow's Old Dominion 500 at Martinsville, Virginia, the National 500 October 6th in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the American 500 October 20th in Rockingham, North Carolina. Well, the crowd here is tremendous at Darlington, perhaps the largest in history for this 25th anniversary race. Six contenders out of the race, Jackie. Most races, the driver concerns himself with the competition. But here he has to worry about the track as well.
I think Darlington is one of the meanest tracks of all. Every driver I spoke to before the beginning of this race really is sort of frightened from Darlington. You know, there's only one groove round this racetrack, particularly in 1 and 3. In these corners, there's only room for one car. There's no opportunity for overtaking two abreast. And what a motor race track it is. In fact, here we see Cale Yarbrough really closing up on Charlie here. He's making an effort to pass. He's trying to get through it. No, he's had to tuck back in, and he's trying again at the front straightaway. He's coming right up behind him, but he has to tuck in. A racetrack that needs enormous concentration and a lot of physical effort.
And a steady hand is necessary on the part of a driver who comes as close to his rivals. Ups, and there's trouble on the main straightaway. Dick May slams the outside wall, spins around, and then hits the inside wall. As still another yellow flag waves here at the Silver Anniversary Southern 500. May driving Elmo Langley's car, a green car, a color one rarely sees in American auto racing for superstitious reasons.
The car came off turn 4, suddenly veered right and went into this wall. You can see the tire mark on the wall. The car climbed up the wall, went right up close to the spectator fence, and in fact bent 2 of the posts on the spectator fence.
That's getting your money's worth in those front row seats. There's Charlie Glotzbeck, the leader of the race, getting service, and Cale Yarbrough right behind goes out of the pits too. Richie Pence out of the competition chats with his father, former racing great Marvin Page in the orange shirt. Richie's been looking for that $10,000 first prize going to the top rookie of the season. He's in the running for that with Tony Bettenhausen and Jackie Rogers, both of whom are still in the race. So it's a tough withdrawal for Richie Pence. The wrecker is on the track, and the word is that Dick May is shaken but not seriously injured. Back in a minute. The clean is out after the May accident, and it's a forward-leading 3 Chevrolet. Charlie Glotzbeck, number 90, out front. Cale Yarbrough, number 11, is second, and in third place, car 05, but with a new driver. Bobby Allison is relieving David Sisko. Darrell Waltrip, fourth in car number 95. And here we have Cale Yarbrough trying to put a lap on Darrell Waltrip, who's right behind Jim Vandiver in number 31. Cale Yarbrough trying to catch Charlie Glotzbeck out in front of the Southern 500. And the cars are using about all of this racetrack they can, running from down low up high on the bank paving. So Glotzbeck, a heavy-set Midwesterner, out in front. And now Cale and Waltrip both dive down. It's 3 wide there for a moment as Vandiver keeps Cale from putting a lap on Waltrip. Cale in second place wants to make it number 3 here at Darlington, his home track. Then Charlie Glotzbeck sets the pace up front into 4th. Lenny Pond, last year's rookie leader, moves into the picture in number 54 to make it a heavy traffic situation on this treacherous raceway.
As far as he's concerned, of course, Cale Yarbrough is faced with a special problem. He's got to be very, very careful here. Most of the leaders, most of the front runners that he was concerned with at the beginning of the race are already out through accidents. So therefore, when you're running in this sort of condition, you've got to be very careful of other traffic. But Cale Yarbrough, of course, is an extremely experienced driver, not the sort of man to make mistakes. So I think we're going to see a more cautious Cale Yarbrough than perhaps an aggressive Cale Yarbrough at this moment in the race.
Still in all, he does not want Charlie Glotzbeck to get away, and Darrell Waltrip is holding up his pursuit of leader Charlie Glotzbeck. Waltrip, of course, does not want to get lapped by the second-place runner Yarbrough, so it's a Mexican standoff right now among these two on this 1.366-mile raceway, one of the toughest tracks in stock car racing. Glotzbeck setting a brisk pace, running about over, but not now. Glotzbeck goes to the apron, his car giving trouble as he heads for the pits. Charlie Glotzbeck, the leader, lets Cale Yarbrough go by, who is now number 1 and may be on his way to a 3rd Southern 500 triumph. Glotzbeck heads for the pits and the truck's more forward. The problem is mechanical. Perhaps they can fix it. It could be fuel, it could be engine trouble, it could be handling, it might be a tire. But whatever it is, his pit crew will be ready. The radio having him alerted to his needs. Now it's side by side on the track as Cale Yarbrough goes down low under Darrell Waltrip.
Obviously, Cale's thought a lot about this. He doesn't want to stick too close to a car that perhaps is going slightly slower than is comfortable for him, and he does want a clear track. That sometimes can be a big help.
But notice, Jackie, that Darrell, the minute Cale was there, he let him go by and ducked in behind him.
Well, that's what you would do if you had a man like Cale Yarbrough in front of him, but Charlie Glotzbeck's getting back out in the pit, so they must have done something right to his motor car. He's back in the race. Darrell Waltrip, on the other hand, is doing very well indeed.
And there's Bobby Allison replacing David Sisko, doing a fine job in that car. He's now in second position behind Cale Yarbrough. So it's Cale Yarbrough leading, Bobby Allison for David Sisko second, and Darrell Waltrip lies third in number 95. And now let's leave Darlington for a while and return to London for second half Globetrotter action with Keith and Will. back at Darlington, South Carolina for the Silver Anniversary Southern 500. And Cale Yarbrough, a local boy from Timminsville, South Carolina, some 10 miles from the track, has a lap on all but second place. David Sisko in 0-5 in the closing stages of his 25th Anniversary Southern 500. Chrissy Konamaki and Jackie Stewart here as Charlie Glatzbach and Darrell Waltrip fight for third place. David Sisko, not in the picture, has returned to the cockpit of number 05 after getting a breather thanks to the courtesy of Bobby Allison. Jackie, it's quite a go here with old pro Charlie Glatzbach and newcomer Darrell Waltrip waxing hot on the speedway.
I'm very impressed with Darrell Waltrip. I think he's a tremendously young and experienced driver for his age.
Cale Yarbrough, there's his crew chief, Junior Johnson. The last American hero, subject of a book and a movie, and one of the good old boys in the pits now on the radio, hoping his driver, Cale Yarbrough, brings it home for his third Southern 500 triumph. And here, David Sisko back in 0-5 after having been relieved by Bobby Allison whole second. But the fight here is for third place, held now by Charlie Glatzbach in the number 94, but being pressured by Waltrip in the number 95 Chevrolet. A good race in the closing stages of the Southern 500. Nose to tail, they circle this racetrack. And Glatzbach holds, and now Waltrip tries on the inside, Jackie, and gets by.
Not quite past yet. He's still fighting for it. Charlie's not going to go that easy. He's really making him fight. And there he goes, very low in the racetrack. Darrell does get past and takes advantage. There's a bump in the high part of the racetrack there, and Charlie certainly got into it. He got loose, and Darrell took advantage. Now, Darrell's very mature young driver. For a driver of his age, I'm very impressed, and I'm sure he's got a great, great future ahead of him.
$2,000 difference between third and fourth place. Jim Vandiver, who was lying sixth a moment ago, smoke coming out of the car. Heads, he's leaning out the car. He rams the inside pit wall and the outside pit wall. It looks, Jackie, as though he were blinded there.
It looks like it. My God, what a maneuver. He must have taken his seatbelts out to get over that far to see how he's sliding to a stop. There's fluid coming out the front of the car, but there's still smoke coming out of the cockpit. It's obviously been a vision problem for him.
An independent who needs the money, doing very well in the late stages of the race, dings both sides of his car, entering the pits. A tough break for Jim Vandiver, and now Glatzbach. Glatzbach, one of the contenders, is down on the apron with a damaged left front corner. Everything's happening here at Darlington. He brings out the 10th yellow flag, perhaps more than ever before.
I don't know what happened to Charlie there, but he obviously had a big problem high in the banking. There must have been something gone wrong. It could be an engine. An engine could have blown. Oil could have got onto his rear tires. He could have just got too high on the road. He certainly hit the guardrail with one part of his car, the front left part of his car, but he's certainly out.
And this should be the last pit stop for Cale Yarbrough, barring trouble. And the Junior Johnson crew on the Carling Chevy giving him right side tires in case he has to race to the finish. Big Junior Johnson, 1 foot behind the wall. It doesn't count if it's 1 foot back there. Giving instructions to the crew. It's a quick stop, a last-minute wipe for Cale Yarbrough as he heads out of the pits at his home track, Darlington Raceway. We'll be back for the finish. Cale Yarbrough with a lap lead on Darrell Waltrip, Dave Sisko, and Dave Marcus. 3 Chevys and a Dodge in the closing laps of the 25th Southern 500. And Yarbrough driving a steady race, having his problems with other cars on the track, but managing to avoid serious trouble throughout, holds a 1-lap lead. Jackie, he's done a fine job so far today.
I think he's kept out of trouble. He was nearly involved in one major accident, but didn't get into contact. This is the sort of performance you would expect from a man of Cale Yarbrough's experience, and there can be few people today with the sort of mental attitude and experience that that man has.
Here's Darrell Waltrip, the Tennessee rookie, lying in second position. Cale comes by down the straightaway again, and he backs off of one of the slower cars. Pee-wee Wentz in front of him. He could pass him, Jackie, but he's not.
Obviously, at this time, he's not going to take any chances at all. In fact, at this time, I'm sure he's sitting there being ultra-sensitive to every vibration, every feel of that motor car at this time, Chris.
And there he goes by after the slower driver moves down for him. The speed, one of the slowest in years because of the many yellow flags, just over 110 miles an hour. Junior Johnson, Herb Nebb, and Turkey Minton and his crew sitting there with their fingers crossed, hoping that nothing happens in the closing laps. And down the straightaway now, it's Cale Yarbrough for the white flag. 1 to go in American racing, putting a lap on Tony Bettenhausen. And Cale Yarbrough is going to make it number 3 to join an elite trio. Herb Thomas and Buck Baker, the only 3-time winners of this classic. And Cale now halfway round on his final lap. $26,800 will go to the winner of this race. It'll be a big payday for Cale. Only 12 cars running now. Jackie, what's on Cale's mind heading for that checkered flag?
All that's in his mind is just a few yards, because right there, Cale Yarbrough gets the checkered flag and wins this race. But you know, the emotions of a racing driver after 500 miles are still pretty uptight. He never really feels the reaction. But his pit crew, of course, feel an awful lot more. They're jubilant, as you can see. Obviously very happy after a hard day's work and an awful lot of hard preparation. But for a racing driver, he has been tense, really uptight for a great long time, and it takes him perhaps 2 days to fully unwind and fully appreciate just what he's done.
Well, there have been 25 lead changes among 13 drivers in this race today, and it's truly been an exciting and different Southern 500. And it's been one of the slowest in years, thanks to all those yellow flags, but the silver anniversary victory will look good on Cale Yarbrough's mantelpiece down in Timmonsville, South Carolina.